I had the opportunity to tour my friend Adam's home theater, and this theater is awesome. Now, very often we look at home theaters as being a dedicated space or, a room where it's only a theater. But in Adam's case, he actually has a multi-purpose room and it works really, really well. Now, I myself personally, I prefer the dedicated space approach. But in Adam's case, I got to say, I'm really impressed with what he has done and how he's made the room work to serve multiple functions all at the same time. Now, from the thumbnail, the thing that stands out is the Atmos speakers. And I really want to talk about this because he has done an incredible job of really dialing in his Atmos height speakers. And a lot of times height speakers are a challenge for those of us who are building home theaters. And what Adam has done is, first of all, he got the placement really, really dialed in. He got the speakers placed extremely well. So he has 6 height speakers, but he didn't go the typical route of using in-ceiling height speakers. Now, if you've watched my video, link up here, about the different types of height speakers, if you've seen that video, then you know that my preferred approach for height speakers is to use bookshelf speakers mounted to the ceiling on an articulating mount so that they can be directed directly at the main listening position. And this is exactly what Adam has done. He has used bookshelf speakers, or in this case, they're speakers that have kind of the slanted look. So I know SVS has like the SVS Prime elevation speakers, where instead of just a straight front, it's angled a little bit, so you can mount it up on the wall and have it directed more at the main listening position. But Adam has taken it one step further and used those speakers in addition to articulating mounts so that then they can be directed right at the main listening position. And we watched a lot of demos and it sounds awesome and it sounds great. And Adam has done just an excellent job with his height speakers. So what about the rest of his system? So, I mean, where to start on this? So first of all, as I mentioned, this is a multi-use room. So at the back half of the room is the theater portion, and then on the other half of the room, he's got a pool table and he's got a bar that he's built, and then a kind of a, I guess you would call it a bar. It's not attached. It's not a fixture in the room, but it's like a shelf/bar that sits behind the couch, where you can sit, and you can either sit at it and face the TV, or you can sit at it and face the pool table. So either way. And so the reason why I really like this room, I mean, well, there's a lot of reasons why I like this room, but the reason why I like it as a multi-purpose room is because you can do both things at the same time. You can make use of both spaces and they don't interfere with each other. So you can be watching a movie. So he has a TV screen instead of a projector. So the lights don't have to be completely, like, you don't need to have a 100% light controlled room to have a really bright picture. And so you can be watching a movie, and at the same time, people can be shooting pool or, talking or hanging out in the back half of the room, and it works really well. And so I think he's just done a great job, and it doesn't feel cramped. I'll try to show it from the pictures, but I don't think the pictures really do it justice to show how open the room actually is. Like when you walk in, it feels spacious, it feels open, and it just feels like there's a lot of room. Like you don't feel like you're cramped, which a lot of times is a challenge, especially in basements. So like that's a challenge that I have here in my dedicated theater space, is just kind of feeling like it's kind of cramped, And a large part of that is he has 9-foot ceilings, which is awesome. I wish my basement theater had 9-foot ceilings. So what is he running for equipment? So he has a 7.5.6 Dolby Atmos home theater. Those numbers are not your typical 7.1.4 or 7.2.4. So he has a 7.5.6. That means he has 7 speakers on the bed layer. He has his 3 LCRs. He has 2 sides and 2 rears. And then he has 5 subwoofers. That's right, 5 subwoofers. And then he has the 6 height Atmos speakers. Now, to power all of that, he has the Denon 6700H, which is an 11-channel AVR, meaning it has 11 channels of amplification, but it will do 13 channels of processing. And he makes use of all 13 of those channels, which means he needs to add additional external amplification because he's got 13 channels, but the Denon 6700H only has 11 channels of amplification. So what is he doing for external amplification? So I think this is really ingenious. And when he showed this to me, I'm like, wow, that is really, really cool. So he has an old, and when I say old, I mean almost 30-year-old Onkyo AVR. And this is one of those older style AVRs that had basically, it was just a straight pass through. So you had your input, your RCA input, and then it just passed it straight through to the amplification. It didn't do any processing inside of the AVR. And so he is able to use that as just an amplifier. So this is old, outdated. It's like Dolby Pro Logic processing, but he doesn't use any of the processing. He just uses it as a straight amplifier. So he actually is using that Onkyo AVR to power 6 of his channels. So 6 channels amplification through the Onkyo, and that frees up a lot of headroom because now the Denon 6700H is only having to power 7 channels. So only 7 channels of amplification are being used on the 6700, and 6 channels are running through the Onkyo. And I will tell you, he really cranked this thing up, and I mean, it has some serious punch. All 13 of those channels driving hard, and it sounded incredible. One of the demos that we did was the flyover scene in Ford versus Ferrari when Carroll Shelby is making his approach in the airplane, and when it flew overhead, I mean, all 6 of those height channels were just, I mean, it was just thundering overhead. It was awesome. It was so cool. So he's done a really good job of making use of that Denon AVR and then the Onkyo for the external amplification, and it sounds awesome. So what is he using for speakers? Now, he is using a brand of speakers that I had actually never heard of before. It's called Chane, Chane. And when I came into the room, when I first entered the room, he had playing the Hans Zimmer Live in Prague Blu-ray, which it's a Blu-ray, but it is in Atmos. And so I walked in the room, and he just had it at just kind of a medium level. It was just kind of a nice, pleasant level. And when I walked in the room, immediately my first thought was, wow, these speakers sound so pretty. Like the sound was just gorgeous. I don't know how to describe it. It sounded so pleasant. And then he told me about these speakers. He bought them during COVID, kind of the height of COVID, which they're in high demand already. But then with COVID, the supply chain issues and everything, he had to wait 7 months for these speakers. And I got to say, I think they were well worth the wait because they just sound incredible. So I had to write down the model names for these various speakers because I knew I was not going to be able to remember them. So his LCRs are the Chane, again, that's Chane, Chane 752 model. And he has those for his LCRs. And what's great about this particular model of speaker is you can use it vertically, or you can also lay it horizontal to use it as a center channel. So I guess the waveguide, the tweeter waveguide, the design, it works just as well vertically as it does horizontal. So he has obviously, so that makes a matching set for his LCRs, which is great. And then his surrounds, which are mounted on the walls on either side of the couch, are the 740S. So the 740S model. And then for his rears, which are mounted at the back of the room, and then the 6 height speakers are all that model, that A4.5, which is the slanted version. And he's got those speakers mounted, all the rears, he's got them mounted all the way at the back. And he says, people are skeptical of whether this would actually work, but it does actually work. Obviously, they have to be boosted quite a bit to make them, you know, play at a volume comparable to what the sides are, given the distance, the disparity in distance from the main listening position. But they work really well and they sound great. And he claims that he actually gets reflections from those speakers off of the pool table, and so they kind of hit that and bounce up, and it works really well. And from what I heard, I agree with him. They do sound awesome. They sound great. Now, for his 5 subwoofers, what does he have for his 5 subwoofers? So these are the models. So for his 2 front subs, so he has 2 in the front, 2 on either side of the couch, and then 1 at the back of the room. So the 2 in the front are the Stark, STARKE, SW15P. So those are a matching set in the front. And then the sides are the SVS PB2000 model. And then his rear sub is a Polk PSW 450. And I thought it was interesting because he said that he initially had just the 2 PB2000s on either side. And then we did like a meetup around here with all the other home theater enthusiasts, and we went and toured each other's theaters. It was really cool. And so after seeing some other theaters, he's like, okay, I need some more subs. So he added the 2 in the front, but then he was still getting a real massive dip, a null right at like the 80 hertz frequency. And so he added that 5th sub at the back of the room, and it actually boosted he created a peak at the 80 hertz. So he dialed it back at that frequency, but it really smoothed it out. And the bass frequencies just sound really tight, really controlled. I was really, really impressed with how he's got his subs dialed in. They're not boomy. They're not overly loud. They're balanced really well with the sound, and it just creates this really nice, smooth listening experience across the full audio spectrum. It sounds great. So all in all, I was really impressed with his theater. I was really happy that he let us come in and take a tour of it. It was myself and some other guys, and he showed us these demos. And of course, we had to watch, Ready Player One, the race scene, which is, at this point, I've seen it so many times. I'm not really watching it as like a movie watcher. I'm watching it because I'm so familiar with the sound of it. I'm watching it more of like a critical listening ear. It's like, okay, I know how this is supposed to sound. I know what it can sound like. What does it sound like in this particular theater? And it sounded great. It was very impressive. And he's just built a really, really nice room. And the other thing is, and my ear, when I walk into an untreated room, my ear just immediately picks up on those harsh frequencies, those harsh reflections, and he doesn't have any of that in his room. He has acoustic treatments on the walls. He's got both absorption and some diffusion panels, kind of working all the way around the room. He probably could add some to the ceiling. It might be a good idea for him to add a couple of absorption panels maybe on the ceiling, but as it is right now, it sounds really, really, really nice, obviously. And so I'm really impressed with what he's done with the space. It's just a really really nice room. It's a great hosting room. Like you can have people come in, and with everything that's in there, you got the pool table, you've got the bar, you've got the theater, and it's just I think he's got like a dart board on one of the walls. He's just built a really really nice room, and well done, Adam. Excellent job, and thanks for having us in to see it, and thanks for watching.